Hey everyone, welcome back to round 4. We have these two players here. Alan is back from round 3. He is our only undefeated of the night. So he is going into this round 3-0. These players actually did go ahead and split their final round, but they have decided to play for us as a part of an exhibition match, I guess you can call this.
Sure, yeah. I mean, they're not playing for any marbles, really, but really they're playing for your entertainment.
Yeah.
So,
and ours.
yeah, I suppose ours. Ours. All of ours. Everyone. Everyone, everywhere, all at once.
That movie's going to keep on coming back.
Yeah, it's always going to come back.
So Heath is playing something he's put in our little survey here as Hot Bant. I don't know what that means.
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out.
And I really hope it's hot.
So I did see a single card. I was just walking around at the end of round 3 here. I'm going to just drop this one in here without telling Alex. And go ahead and pull this thing up that I saw in his deck. So this is something that is in Heath's deck. I'm not sure if it's in his sideboard or if this is the main board win condition. Paradox Zone. Going to enter with a growth counter, doubling the growth counters, making a fractal, putting that in play every turn. So it's kind of like a Liliana.
It's like an Assemble the
emblem.
Legion kind of type of thing. I mean, there's a bunch of cards that we've seen in Magic history that do these things there, but like go wide strategies are nothing to scoff at. Kind of hard to deal with, especially against Delver.
Yeah.
Delver can't deal with go wide strategies outside of, I mean, I guess Brotherhood's End. As we saw in the last round, Brotherhood's End definitely can do things. But I'm kind of excited to see what this card can do. I don't know if they just like drop it down on turn 5 and say deal with it, but like, I don't know.
Maybe it's some wild ramping strategy. I'm not sure at all. If he's calling it Hot Bant, I'm guessing that it's a 4-color and it's probably red with Bant. At least that's what I would
you
think.
only put 1 token into play. I was thinking you put tokens into play equal to the number of counters on it.
Well, no,
you just get a bigger token every turn.
Yeah.
Okay, so this card is actually a little bit worse than I thought it was.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was like Assemble the Legion, where you are making an incremental amount of tokens, but you are just making 1 a turn. I mean, making a big dude is not nothing for sure.
I mean, it's going to get to a point where Alan can't deal with it, since primarily the only way the Delver can deal with things is damage. So, like, once it's bigger than a 4/4, he can't really like kill it with direct damage, and once it's bigger than like an 8/8, he can't even trade with it.
Yeah, there's a possibility that he might not even care though. That this thing doesn't have trample, Murktides, and Delirium Delvers or Delirium GRCs get over the top. So
you see this Terminus right here, in Heath's hand. He's got a couple of Ponders and he's got a Terminus.
So he's just playing some like kind of crazy control deck with wacky finisher cards like Paradox Zone.
Seems like it, because even if you Terminus and say you have your finisher out, doesn't matter, because next turn you'll have like an even bigger creature. So
yeah,
I can see that. I can see that working. Of course, Alan casting a couple Ponder, a Brainstorm, and finally finishes up with a Delver here. Going into the end of his second turn. Heath fetching Misty. I think that's a Tundra he has in play right now. That makes sense.
You're going and getting a Trop, okay.
So what would 2 mana? I mean, you could play Codal. That could be a 2 mana play at the end of your opponent's turn. A Brainstorm. A Loam.
That is a Life from Loam.
That is a legal spell to cast on your on your main phase.
No judgment to Heath, but Heath is what, 2/1?
Heath is 2/01.
2/01. Okay.
So Heath.
I mean, I don't know what he's got. Yeah, I don't know what he's got going on, but whatever it is working for him.
Yep. All right, so I can understand that. Like, if you don't want to miss your land drop and you've got the fetch in your grave, that's kind of an easy decision.
Yeah, there's a possibility that he's playing Uro as well. So like Life from the Loam is just a way to feed his yard if he wants to dredge it.
Yep, and then you're going to ponder anyways, so That feels like a pretty good turn 3 to make sure you don't miss your land drop.
So shuffle from the ponder there.
Alan just kind of probably still trying to figure out what's going on, kind of like us. And he goes, "Okay,
Yeah,
well,
kind of like us. I got no clue what Heath's deck is capable
seeing
of.
a loam and a ponder, 3 colors. Hasn't seen the hot part of the Bant list yet.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the hot just means something along the lines of splashing red.
Oh, here we go. So Paradox Zone plus Entreat SB plus 2 MD. So it sounds like he's running Entreat the Angels. This is kind of like a...
So it's just kind of a Bant Miracles deck of sorts.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. We haven't seen Miracles in a really, really long time. Not since pretty much since I's Divining Top got banned out of the format. Because, I mean, the Miracles deck was not tier 1 per se, but like Sensei's Divining Top plus Counterbalance just made for really egregious games.
They just last forever because nothing would resolve.
Right, nothing would resolve, or it just made for like I said, really really bad gameplay, and players are just bored. Like even we have a we're used to pre-COVID. There's a store out in LA who used to run legacy events every single month, and the store owner would actually lend out legacy decks to players who wanted to join in.
Oh, right, sure.
And there was one point in time where the owner had to say, "Oh, you're new, you can borrow one of my decks, but you can't borrow Miracles because I can't have a new player go to time every single round."
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't see Heath going to time every single round here. It doesn't seem like that's been the case throughout the night.
So.
Maybe he's very well versed in his own deck, which is very good. But once again, we haven't seen Miracles in forever, so I'm really curious as to what he's got going on and what it's capable of.
So I'm thinking basically like, the only way you're manipulating the top of your deck in this format is basically Brainstorm. So, you can still kind of set up Miracles with Brainstorm a little bit. I think Heath allows this Dragon's Rage Channeler to resolve, even though he's got the Force in hand, because he's got the Terminus, and he's going to set up for a Brainstormed Terminus in a second here. Yeah,
and I mean, in decks like these, hard control decks, right, your life total is just a resource. So you can take chip damage like that, even if it ends up not being quite a chip damage, right? If you're taking 4-6 damage a turn, you can just use your life total and allow your opponent to commit more things to the board before you start wiping them away.
Right. So, probably not seeing an Entreat this game. Even when you're miracling this card, it just costs a lot to get a lot of Angels in play. But
is that a Taiga that he just got? It was, but it looks like he changed his mind on it.
Getting the Taiga.
I'm wondering what the red splash is for. I mean, it is called Hot Bant, which is... I assumed that it was going to be some sort of a red splash. So it could be for maybe Minsk and Boo or Prismatic Ending, just to have the 4th color. There's a wide possibility of why you would play the red card.
I mean, this has got to be Brainstorming.
Yeah, so we're going to be Brainstorming. It looks like end of turn here.
Yeah, so this is definitely setting up for the Terminus.
That's what it looks like for sure. We see the Terminus on top of his hand there, at the far right of his hand, and we'll see if he puts it on top.
Alan definitely has that force of will, but you always like to be that player who's starting it, or like not having to spend the force of will to start, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to be the second player forcing the force.
Yeah, it looks like Heath actually took a blue card and Terminus and is putting it on top immediately. Heath also has a force of will in hand, so he can easily, start that counter war there to fight over the Terminus.
I don't know what he's... So he decides to keep the that Mystic Sanctuary.
Is that a Mystic Sanctuary? Yeah.
I think that was a Minx that he put on top of his deck. So here we go. Reveal the Terminus. Terminus, of course, bottoming all creatures in play. Terminus. Miracle cost. I mean, it's a 6 cast. It's a terrible card, but if you can miracle it for 1 mana, it's fantastic. It's probably one of the best removal spells in the game.
There's a force pitching Daze from Alan, but we know that Heath has at least one Forcible in his hand. I think I only see one, but I don't know how many cards Alan's got. He's got a couple of cards left in his hand.
And he
So
binned a force off of the
DRC. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So he's got it. He has to break off the force here for sure, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna be force pitching.
Pitching something. I think it was a ponder.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what he put aside there.
He's got mana though. He's lightning bolt is gonna
bolt his face. Yeah, so he's gonna bolt upstairs to try to get some damage in and surveil some more.
Heath is at 9, right?
Heath is at 9. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, now he's at 6. And whatever's on top of the deck, Alan likes. Caring not to put it in the graveyard. So these 2 creatures to the bottom of the library, never to be seen again. And Heath gets to go to his main phase. Probably trying to decide. Oh, that's a really good setup too, is Mystic Sanctuary can, if you fetch it out of your deck, you can put it right back on top. And then you can set up a Terminus that way.
Well, it looks like he just did that right now. So he just put the Mystic Sanctuary into play, put the Terminus back on top of his library, and if he has a Brainstorm, he can just continue to float that Terminus for a while.
Now that is a good hard cast Endurance.
Yeah, it's a good, especially when Alan only has another, a card or 2 in hand. Yep. If Alan had a Murktide in hand and wanted to see that card on top because maybe it was a Murktide. It looks like he drew an expressive iteration, so Alan kept an iteration on top.
Yep.
But if Alan had a plan to play a Murktide, that plan is now gone.
Man, expressive iteration doing that work, digging through the deck, revealing a DRC. Even though Alan was kind of dead in the water, it looked like he had a land in hand and not much else, but...
Expressive iteration just digs you out so far.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like he found another DRC here.
Right.
However, that Endurance... quite easily getting in the way of that DRC, even if he gets Delirium.
Getting rid of the hot part of Heath's mana base.
We still don't know what the red is for, but Alan's obviously afraid of it. So he says, I don't know what this is for. Maybe this is your only one red source in your entire library. I'm going to take that one.
Yeah. Looks like Heath held on to a Brainstorm and some green card.
Yeah, and so... the way that Miracle works as well is that, even though we know that Terminus is on top of the library here, he does not have to reveal it for his Miracle cost. So he can just continue to float that. See, we're about to see a Brainstorm.
There's an Uro.
There's an Uro, but we know there's a Brainstorm in Heath's hand. So at any point in time, Heath can just choose to put that Terminus back on top.
Yep. So even though...
Alan's thinking about this Uro here.
Alan is kind of digging his way back out. I feel like Heath is still in the more commanding position currently. He just leaves his Endurance untapped to block DRC just in case it turns on Delirium somehow.
Yeah, it looks like he did exactly that. He just left the Endurance back and passed the turn. Alan's fetching here. It looks like it is upkeep.
I wonder if you even Brainstorm now, because you have the Brainstorm Terminus at your disposal. Would you throw it away just to look a couple cards deeper?
Probably not. If Heath is in an okay position here, right? I mean, he's facing down a 1/1 creature without flying. It doesn't have to attack every turn, but a 3/4 with reach is pretty easily blocking that. So a card gets flipped off the top of Alan's library. Obviously, this is Casual REL, so we just shuffle it up. If they don't know any other places of any cards, because Alan has shuffled since the Endurance came down. So Alan not knowing any positions of any cards, they just shuffle up the card that was flipped and continue play. If we were at Comp REL or something like that, there would be a warning for looking at extra cards, and we would look at a couple of different more things. But Casual REL, we just kind of fix it and move on. There's another expressive iteration from Alan there.
Finding it off of the Mystic Sanctuary, the one of, putting it... It's the same expressive iteration, actually. Doing
it's the same, right, from the Sanctuary.
And I think we're back at Delirium already. Alan binning that land.
He had land for the Wasteland and the fetches.
Oh, you're right. So land, I think it's instant sorcery. I think he's missing a creature. Finding the third Dragon's Rage Chandler. Although it could be one of the old ones since he's shuffled up so many times now.
Yeah, so it's one of 4.
Yeah.
So he's playing that other DRC, passing the turn here. He's looking at his graveyard, and there he goes. So there is the Dredged Loam. Get Loam back from hand. Easy way to get your lands back into play.
I can pull that up live.
So it looks like he's casting the Loam in his main phase here.
Oops.
Getting maybe a fetch land or two. Yeah, so Life from the Loam pretty good against Wasteland.
Oh, very much so.
Kill my land, I'm going to get it right on back.
Here we go. Yeah, being able to target up to 3 lands in your grave, pull them back, replacement effect of that Dredge 3. Man, Dredge being a replacement effect is so good. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not a trigger or anything like that. It just says, if you would draw a card instead, do this thing. Replacement effects are oftentimes, I mean, you can't really interact with them. They don't go on the stack. They're special actions, basically, that just happen. Not even special actions. That's not the correct term. But they just happen.
Special action is like what they decided. Oh, yeah. Morph and the companion trigger. Or it's not even a trigger, but the companion.
Activating the companion.
Yeah, that's a special action.
Yeah.
Basically when they don't have an answer to
what is this thing? No? Alright, we call it special action.
5 mana. What is that? That's a mince. Minx. Almost positive. So Heath missing his red mana. He decides to slap down a Taiga, so there it is. 4 mana here is going to get that Planeswalker. Oh, no, it's going to be
probably an Uro from the yard. Yep. Okay.
Sure, why not?
Does he have a Minskin Boo in hand? Did you see one?
Yeah, he does. It's
okay.
the first card in his hand.
Yeah, of course.
Except it's a different art.
Oh, does he have like the full art or something?
It's this one.
I see.
It's easily recognizable because of that flying hamster. But
I mean, an Uro is going to do it here. It looks like he's Force of Willing.
Hardcast
Force of Will on the Uro. We're going to see if Heath wants to fight over this. He's got a couple of cards in hand, so... I mean, he's got a Brainstorm if he wants to Brainstorm to look for another counterspell. We'll see if he wants to fight over this Uro, though. I would assume you probably don't here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Uro gets countered, then you have a Minskin Boo on the follow-up turn when your opponent has 2 cards in hand and has a 1/1's like on field. And I mean, even if Alan has Delirium, there are 3/3s in the air, but Heath is at 8 life now. Right? If he was a 6, it'd be a little bit of a different story, but being at 8 life and looking at an endurance that blocks those DRCs proprofitably.
Yeah. I really want to know what this white card is in Heath's hand. I can't tell if it's a swords. He keeps pulling that minx up. Oh, you know, it might be the Terminus.
Oh, yeah, it's probably the Terminus. We already saw him draw that.
Okay, so we're seeing the days off of the Delver here so that we can bounce the Mystic Sanctuary so he can put Expressive Iteration back on his deck.
So he's dazing his own Delver? Is that what's happening?
Yes, so he's going to play the Delver. He's going to daze
So he hasn't even tapped mana for it. Oh, he tapped it probably from the Mystic
land
Sanctuary.
He already bounced, right?
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, the Delver deck has this ridiculous staying power that, you know, it can just dig itself right back out of games that you would think that, you know, you'd already dealt with it, so, oh, it should be done. No way.
Yeah, that one of Mystic Sanctuary is definitely a huge boon for this archetype.
So there it is.
There's the
Let's
Mystic
see
Sanctuary again, getting
on.
Expressive Iteration for sure. Yeah, of course.
Just
And
ridiculous.
it looks like
value.
he's just passing the turn here.
No, I think he accidentally hit Delirium, so I think they're...
Oh.
Oh, no, he took the 1 sorcery out.
Oh, yeah, he took the iteration out, so they are now 1/1, so they don't even attack here.
So 1 mana.
That's a Brainstorm at the end of turn.
So
He's probably going to be putting the Terminus back to wipe the board. He says, I don't need this Endurance anymore, but I'm going to take out your 3 creatures too.
Seems like a fair trade.
Especially when he's just going to follow it up with a Minskin Boo and swing for 7.
Oh my Is that really how fast it gets out of control? It comes in. Okay, at least it's only attacking for 4 the turn it comes in.
Okay, yeah. So it attacks for 4 the turn. It attacks for 4 the turn it comes in. The next turn it becomes a 7/7, and then you just fling it.
Yeah,
Like
it's stupid.
Yeah, or you could just put it into play, make a 4/4, swing for 4 the next turn, and then fling it at your opponent for another 4.
Yep.
Like in 2 turns, Minsk and Boo can easily do 12 damage.
Yep, and draw 4 cards.
And draw 4 cards if you decide to fling the hamster.
Because that's fair.
Because we're playing Legacy. We're not trying to play fair Magic here.
All right, so we saw that Terminus, and going for the Uro
This
once
looks like
again.
another Uro from the yard, an escaped Uro here.
Probably leaving exactly Uro and Life from the Loam in the yard, I would guess. If he could get away with it.
He's got a tap mana to do so. What is he going to tap for it? There it is.
There we go.
Leaving it looks like a Tundra back.
Pyroblast.
Pyroblast is good.
Good magic card. Main board Pyroblast from Alan.
Is it main deck?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It has to be. This is game 1.
Is it game 1? I don't even remember.
Yep, it is.
Too many things have happened. It's been a long night, huh? It's already past my bedtime.
I completely agree. All right, so Alan trying his best here to stay alive. Looks like we saw the Wasteland for the Mystic Sanctuary. He said, all right, that's enough of that crap. Get that card out of there. I don't want to see any more expressive iterations.
I'm done with this.
Alan resolving his expressive iteration, exiling a Ponder here. Digging ever so deeper. Unholy Heat, active, but kind of impotent. Yeah, I would shuffle that too. When you see 2 lands and an Unholy Heat, like, what is that going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially on a board with no creatures on it.
Can Unholy Heat hit Planeswalkers?
Yes, it can.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's why Unholy Heat is like one of the best like removal spells in the format.
Creature or Planeswalker.
Yep. Deals with most things pretty well.
I mean, 6 damage.
Deals with most things in the format.
I can't think of any Planeswalker that comes down and has more than 6 loyalty at the end of a turn of activation. Besides,
there's
maybe
like
Karn,
and I think Garrick Apex Predator, maybe. I don't even know. I think it comes down with 6 and it +1s or +2s or something like that, or it comes down at 5 and +2s. I can't remember.
Let me rephrase. Planeswalkers in this format.
I mean, it's technically legal.
Nobody's playing Garrick Apex Predator.
But Karn is also not being played in this format. There are just better Planeswalkers to play.
That's
right?
true.
Even like Mud players or
stuck in the days of Tron from Modern, I guess.
Yeah. Mud players or Post players. They're playing Ugin instead of Karn.
Ugin probably comes down with more than 6 counters.
Ugin comes down. Yes, I think that is correct. Ugin comes down with 7 and then up 6. Okay, there you go.
Up to 8.
Up to 9.
Yep, that's how math works. 7 plus 2.
We're not playing Magic. It's okay. We don't have to do math. Math is for blockers, as they say.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not doing any of that tonight.
So we're seeing a Life from the Loam, dredged and back to hands and cast again. I mean, Heath is just, like, his whole plan here is Loam Uro. And it's not a bad plan.
That's not a bad plan at all. I mean, with Alan unable to really deal with a graveyard, right? Heath is only dealing with his own graveyard by exiling cards by playing Uro.
Right.
And then Alan counters it, and then he plays an Uro again.
Yep.
And then he just continues to gain 3 life out of it. I mean, it was just a couple of turns ago that we saw Heath at 6 life.
Right.
And now he's at 10.
And, I mean, even though Alan's life total hasn't really changed here, we're seeing a big swing in tempo. Because, I mean, like, Alan is still playing these expressive iterations and brainstorms, but he's had to rebuild his board once already. He's going for a second rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, Delver has veered away over the last, I don't know, year, two, maybe even 3 years from playing too many basics. So Heath just being on the plan of Life from the Loam Wasteland, Wasteland your land, Dredge Life from the Loam, get back Wasteland, rinse, repeat
Yeah.
is not a bad strategy, right? If Alan is sitting there spending 2 mana a turn trying to dig with Expressive Iteration, he's kind of wasting his mana sources trying to look for an answer instead of playing relevant spells.
Right.
Here's a Ponder. Now Alan's tapped out for the turn, and Heath can just dredge Life from the Loam, get back Wasteland, keep your resources down. So Heath definitely seems like he's on the
Path to
in the
victory.
front runner here for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I'm Heath here, even though I've got that expressive... Oh, well, he draws the card. Sure, why not?
Maybe he doesn't care anymore, right? If he just drops some relevant spells, right? He's probably going to play that Minsc and Boo in a second here.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like the right play. Unless he's still trying for the Uro.
No, it looks like he's actually, yeah. So there goes the Minsc and Boo. Minsc and Boo coming down. If Alan doesn't counter this, this can get out of hand very, very quickly.
Alan went out of his way to pull that that Force of Will off of the Ponder.
Okay, so there's
Dovin's Veto?
There's the scoop. Dovin's Veto main deck from Heath. That's some hot tech. That's some hot tech for sure.
Dovin's Veto. Counter your spell. This can't be countered.
I mean, it's pretty good against the Force of Will.
Wow.
Yeah, but when you're Heath and you're sitting at 7 to 8 lands on field, and Alan's only got 4 and he's completely tapped out.
Seems like a good spell.
Writing is written on the wall pretty quickly there.
Wow, what a game one. That was nuts.
And now we're halfway through the match. Hopefully we're able to get at least a finalized game 2 or a game 3.
Yeah. Well, we will see with Alan on the play here. I feel like Delver is in it where it wants to be on the play. Obviously, most decks in Magic want to be on the turn one. But I feel like Delver with the tempo strategy benefits much more from being on the play. Get my creature down, and I can daze your thing.
No, exactly. You just go turn 1 DRC or Delver and hold up Daze, and you're sitting pretty.
I think he's showing us the sideboard.
Yeah, it looked like he was showing us the sideboard there. Kind of missed it. Glare on the cards, and
I saw the Paradox Zones.
so they were in the board.
They were in the board.
Okay.
I don't know if he's bringing them in. What's happening here?
Probably not. I can't imagine the Paradox Zone comes in here. I mean, dealing with a token every single turn is, fine. But it seems too slow.
Yeah.
A little bit too slow, maybe, against Delver.
He's taking out the Dovin's Vetoes?
He's looking at taking him out. It looks like it. Or he might even be playing more on his board and is looking at putting more in. He's also bringing Wasteland to the front there. He might be taking out these Wastelands and Force of Wills. This is a really interesting...
I feel like Force of Will is some of the strongest, or not Force of Will, but Wasteland is some of the strongest stuff he has in his sideboard.
Yeah, we don't see Heath here very often. I don't know how much he plays Legacy. I mean, he seems to know his deck pretty well.
All those cards?
I don't know. I am not sure. That looks
the
like
whole
his
strategy, Cotton.
All right, well,
Let's
I wonder
see if it pays off.
So Heath just might have. All right, so it looks like he is legitimately boarding in 15 cards here. There is a huge possibility that Heath just plays a transformative sideboard.
Yeah.
That's probably, I imagine, that is the only reason to put in 15 cards and take in 15 cards out. So there is some sort of a crazy combo that he could have with Paradox. What is it called?
Paradox Zone?
Paradox Zone. I was going to say Paradox Haze, Paradox Engine.
Nope.
Those are all Magic cards, but not the right one. So Paradox Zone. I don't know. I have no idea what.
But we saw all the Force of Wills come out, all the Dovin's Vetoes, all the Wastelands.
It looked like he took out some Uros too.
And a number of Uros.
Yeah, I thought he did.
I mean, that's his whole... Maybe he took out the Life from the Loams, too. I mean, that's
a possibility, right?
That was his whole deck.
Maybe he just wants to jank somebody out here, right? If Alan is sitting there going, I need to board against this strategy, Heath goes, well, I don't have a strategy anymore. So, I mean, this isn't the first time that we've seen transformed with sideboards here before.
Right.
We have a player who has been on Reanimator, and their 15 card sideboard just goes into like a mono black control list.
Yeah.
So like you board in
Or the
your
mono black
rested
aggro
pieces.
list.
Yeah, they run like Dothy's Voidwalker and Shieldred.
And the big boy, Phyrexian Obliterator.
Oh, did they have Obliterators too? Yeah, okay.
Dude.
So that's neat. But yeah, so they were playing like mono black Reanimator and then just boarded in 15 like aggro-esque mid-range cards. And I think they had like Lily of the Veils too, which you would
Cool
never
ley
expect
line.
out of which you would never expect out of mono black. So you just go, all right, turn 0 ley line, and then go from there.
Blue Black Fairies is terrible. Blue Black Terror is better.
Okay, sure. All right, never mind that.
Getting the stream interrupted again. Sorry, everybody.
Anyways, it looks like he's
It's pretty long.
the Terminus.
Okay, it looks like Alan is.
Oh, that was odd.
I think the lights in the game room got turned off for a second. Something happened, but we should have a sign on the door saying "Don't interrupt stream in progress" or something, because it's a couple of times during tonight's stream that we've been interrupted by people coming into the room.
We can make a sign. This is only the second time that we've ever streamed on camera, Alex.
That is true, but I don't like interruptions.
That's true.
I'm gonna go have to, bang some heads. Just kidding.
Alex, the resident enforcer bruiser at Spellhold Games.
Yep. I'm the resident judge. I got to keep things in line.
Yeah, you got to watch out for this guy. All right, we see
Delver into Ponder from Alan for sure.
Alan exactly where he wants to be.
Classic Delver moves. We haven't seen Days, but that's because Heath hasn't played any spells.
Hey, so okay, thank you.
I'm returning that for you.
Great. So we do see that Heath does have that Terminus in his opener, which is probably the right choice, I would guess, to keep against the Delver. I mean, it worked for him last game, so we'll probably see that being fired off again.
And as long as he has a Brainstorm in hand and can put it back on top of the library, he'll be fine.
But I feel like Dallin, I keep doing that. Alan would be wise to that strategy at this point. If I were him, I wouldn't commit more than like 2 threats to the board at any given time.
Yeah, I mean, when you're swinging in with, a Channeler for 3 in the air or a Delver, right, you can just continue to chip at opponent's life total for a couple of turns, and it ends up being pretty effective. But we see in Prismatic Ending from Heath on that Delver, so Delver is gone forever.
So clearly Alan desperate for some mana here. He did find a Wasteland, but that's not colored mana. So we will see what goes back on top of the deck. I didn't see what the other card was that he drew. I'm not sure if it was a fetch land or not. Might be losing to some mana screw here, unfortunately. I mean, if nothing else, Alan can at least play a Wasteland and then blow up probably the Flooded or the Tropical Island, I would guess.
There's a possibility
Oh, no,
that
that's a
you
Misty.
also takes... Okay, so he has a Misty. There's a possibility that Alan might want to take his White Source too if he's really afraid of that Terminus or another Prismatic Ending.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely seems like Heath's removal is in white. Just a ponder. Just a ponder.
And that looks like a Red Elemental Blast plus...
Probably a Misty.
It looks like a Misty and another card. I couldn't tell what they were.
Decides to draw the land. Or no, the Pyroblast.
No, I think he decided to draw the Pyroblast. Then he plays a Taiga for turn. So he's got that red mana up if he wants to keep Pyroblast open. Sorry, not Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast.
They're the same card.
They are not the same card.
Which one's supposed to be better because you can only target blue spells with one of them, right?
Well, so go ahead and pull them up on stream here, and we'll discuss those cards.
All right.
There is a distinct difference, chat, between Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast.
All right, so here's REB.
So Red Elemental Blast says counters of boots. Actually, we need to look at the. Do we have the Oracle text somewhere?
I mean, not really.
Do we have
printings.
another printing, a more recent printing?
Sure. Which one do you want? This one?
Yeah, sure. Why not? That works. So, Red Elemental Blast, you can either choose to counter target blue spell or destroy target blue permanent. And if we take a look at Pyroblast, I believe the way that that card is worded, it says counter or destroy X thing if it is blue, right? Counter target spell if it is blue, or destroy target permanent if it is blue. So the main discerning difference between these two cards is Pyroblast can still target something that is not blue,
Right.
and you can get a Surveil trigger off of it, you can get a Prowess trigger off of it, you can get, back in the day when Monastery Mentor was played,
Yep.
you can get that trigger off of it. So the distinct difference is that you can target something with Pyroblast that is not blue, even though it won't do anything, you can still play the spell, whereas Red Elemental Blast, the thing has to be blue for it to be targeted.
So Pyroblast is technically the better spell, although if you get your turn taken over, it could be the card that is wasted. So it's ups and downs.
I mean, I don't know what decks in the format are making you lose your turn.
Mindslaver stuff.
Who's playing Mindslaver in Legacy?
I don't know. Anyways, we've missed some plays here. So Alan played that True Name Nemesis. That got the Red Elemental Blast spent on it, and then we saw Heath go for the Uro there. If True Name Nemesis had resolved, I feel like that would have been okay for a half second. But with the Terminus still in hand, True Name Nemesis just kind of a little bit impotent. Although we are seeing some serious spice from Alan here.
Yeah, this is a card we haven't seen in a long time, and we brought it up a little earlier in Miracles, but we're actually seeing it on the other side of the field here. We're seeing Counterbalance. This is a card I think Alan has been on for a little while now, but it's definitely not going to do anything against that Terminus.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah, so even though you can cast Terminus for its miracle cost of 1, the converted mana cost of that card is still 6. So Counterbalance will maybe take care of. I mean, I can't even imagine that takes really care of Uro, right? This Alan's deck doesn't play many 3-drops.
Brazen Borrower, and he's got the
Brazen Borrower and True Name, maybe, and that's about it.
Brazen Borrower. I've been given crap for my mispronunciation of cards.
That's okay.
And the True Name Nemesis is a 3. But I feel like Alan is kind of now in a position here. Like, I don't think Heath's getting rid of this Counterbalance.
No, probably not, but Heath might not really care about it, right? So, like, Alan can continue to float 1-drops off the top of his library to stop opposing Brainstorms and Ponders, and maybe even, like, Prismatic Endings for 1, but Prismatic Ending can easily get around that by putting more mana into it.
No, that's true. So you're right. It's kind of in a situation here where anything that Alan wants to counter is probably more expensive than Alan has in his deck.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're looking at... It looks like Heath actually has a Swords to Plowshares in his hand. So Counterbalance can take care of that as a removal spell, but if Heath just continues to float around that Terminus...
Is that a Blue Blast too? Or Hydroblast?
Do we see a Hydroblast in hand? Yeah, it looks like there is a Hydroblast in hand.
Yeah, that's that art, right?
Yeah, I think so. It looks like it. That white border Hydroblast. Look at that. Look at that thing.
It's a different Hydroblast, but that's okay. It is none of these.
Wait, is it not a Hydroblast? It might be a...
It's a Blue Elemental Blast.
Yes,
Yeah,
that is the card.
That's
there it is. I was like, there's some red in that card. Yeah, so it's Blue Elemental Blast.
I mean, that makes sense because he was running REBs, so why wouldn't he run a BEB?
BEB.
BEB.
Rebs and Bebs.
But, I mean, Counterbalance good against Counter War, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how many cards Alan has in hand. I don't know if he has a Brainstorm, so I don't know if even, Counterbalance could be blind flipping things here, but...
With only 10 minutes left in the match, I don't know if Alan is going to be able to pull this one out.
So there's a 1-drop from Heath. Alan may or may not know the top of his library already. Looks like he is dazing that. When Heath is tapped out, daze seems pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, that was at end of turn. I see. So kind of just taxing Heath's resources more than anything else. Pulling back Uro. So this is going to be the blind flip, I bet. Hoping to hit his one of Brazen
Borrower or possible True Name Nemesis if he has more in the deck.
I bet there's 2. I feel that feels like the right number.
Feels like the right number. All right, that's an expressive iteration on top. So, all right, and then we see a Red Elemental Blast from.
Well, that's a Pyroblast.
Sorry, Pyroblast. I apologize. We see a Pyroblast from Alan on that arrow. And it looks
he knows that there's only a 2-drop on the top of the deck. So.
Yeah, so he knows there's a 2-drop. He can easily cast that 1-drop with no fear whatsoever. And now Heath's got a big old beater on field. It's going to be hard for Alan to deal with for sure. He can find an Unholy Heat. We know that he just drew that expressive iteration. He's got, looks like, one other card in hand.
He doesn't have the right mana though, so I feel like he's got to go for the giant Murktide here. And
does he have a Murktide in hand?
Yeah, he's got a Murktide.
Okay, so the Murktide can keep the Uro at bay. Depending on how big the Murktide can be, he might be able to do it for full value here.
Yeah, if he can do 5, that's...
Okay, so there's a Murktide. He played a Valk.
But you said there's a Swords in Heath's hand?
Yes, but Counterbalance can trigger and maybe counter the Swords. We know the one other card in Alan's hand, so it wasn't even for full value. It was actually only for 4 here. So it is bigger than an Uro at being a 7/7. It looks like he's going to waste a Taiga here.
That makes sense.
But, I mean, end of turn, Heath can just try to swords the Murktide. But it looks like he's not doing that. He doesn't want to swords it yet.
Orangeroo is telling us to tell them to shuffle faster.
Tell him to shuffle faster.
Okay, we'll get right on that.
That's actually really funny because he's out in the room right there.
Oh, is he now?
Yeah. So I don't know what shuffling we're talking about because they haven't been doing much of it, but
there's the Swords. Alan doesn't even go for the flip?
Alan doesn't go for the blind flip. That's really interesting. He doesn't know what's on top because he cast the... he didn't even cast the expressive iteration. He's got it in hand. So it's really interesting that he didn't blind flip there. I would have definitely done that. I mean, it gives your opponent some amount of... So there's the expressive iteration. So whatever he had on top of his library is the one card he's got left in his hand. Could have been another expressive iteration. And there's the scoop.
Yeah.
So that is the end of the match, which makes that the end of tonight's event.
Yeah, Heath scoops it 2-0. So that...
Alan scoops it.
Oh, yeah, right.
Alan scoops it to Heath. But yes, Heath gets it 2-0.
Yes, and gets the night for what, 3-0-1?
3-0-1. Yeah,
pretty
so
good.
Alan goes 3-1 for the end of the night. Heath going actually undefeated at...
Technically, yes.
Even though they split, right, for prizing before the end of... or before the beginning of the round. They decided to play it out just for funsies, and Heath actually going 3-0-1, being our only undefeated player for the night, and Alan ending the event at 3-1 with classic Izzet Delver.
Pretty cool matches tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad you could be here. We are actually going to be trying to do this twice a month, so it's going to be, if everything works out well, it's going to be the first and third Tuesdays of the month. So, and you'll actually see a rotating set of hosts. So that should be interesting as well. But I think that's going to do it for me and Alex tonight. So thanks for tuning in with us at Tuesday Night Legacy, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Thanks for tuning in.